online platform for the network, probably later this week or next. We do operate under Chatham House rules, so feel free to share what you hear, just not who said it or what company. Unless it's Chris, I think you can attribute anything to him since he's so nicely agreed to present to us today. And if you feel so inclined, you could turn your camera on. Always fun to see everybody's faces. If not, just make sure your Zoom has your name so we know who's talking. I keep clicking out of my slides. So we are at that 11:05 Eastern mark. We're going to hear from Chris. I don't know how long he's got planned for us, but that doesn't matter. We'll have plenty of time for discussion afterwards and then wrap up. Just one final reminder for everybody as I think, oh, maybe we have one more meeting actually before Circularity, but Circularity is 3 weeks from now in Denver. Registration's still open. You can use this member discount code if you plan to come but haven't registered yet. For those of you who are going to be at Circularity, there's a few things you might want to sign up for in advance if you're interested. Our Tuesday morning buildings forum. We also have a reverse logistics masterclass that's going to have a certificate associated with it. That is also happening on Tuesday morning. And then we've got a few tours you might want to check into. We've also got a lot of fun wellness activities planned. If you're a runner, bring your shoes. We've got 2 sort of organized morning runs. We've got some breath work, some meditation, some workshops on burnout, all kinds of fun things happening at the event, in addition to all of the content that we usually put together. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris to talk a little bit about his work at the Circular Value Institute. I will stop sharing and turn it over to you. Chris, take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you, John, for hosting me. Okay. Hi, everybody. We're from the Circular Value Institute, and today I will talk about how to measure the value of circularity. This is a concept that we created with producers of circular materials, with lawyers, with banks, with investment capital. So with a very broad group of people, and we were supported by the Circular Building Coalition. This is a group of the Laudes Foundation, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So this is how we started. Now, a little bit about myself. I'm Chris. I'm an engineer from a background, and I really like walls and I like circular economy. I did a master thesis about it. I scaled the company B Matrix from $3 to $50 million in revenue, and they made walls for the trade show industry. So instead of throwing them away every weekend, you start reusing them. It looks like reuse was a much better business model if you looked at their numbers. They're now the world leading brand in interior walls for the trade show industry. After B Matrix, I started another company called Juno, and we're doing the same thing but for drywall. On that, maybe it's important. Juno is named after my kids, so Jules and Noor. They will ask about climate change about me, and okay, I'll try to solve it with a business model. And today I'm here as the co-founder of the Circular Value Institute. Bringing that knowledge, that experience that I had from B Matrix, from Juno, we want to bring it as a gift to the world. We won numerous awards with it. So this is what I want to do. And what I want to do is to make sure that in the end, at the end of my life, I can say to my kids, okay, we have solved this challenge. The You're still hearing me because I'm seeing the camera is blocked.
Yeah, we can kind of hear you, but the video I think is making it choppy.
All right. I will stop the video. I hope I'm back now.
Yep.
All right. All right. Camera crashed here. There is $14.3 billion every year wasted in construction sector. This is a huge amount of value lost to society. And to make it worse, we don't have those resources. We don't have the people. It's not productive to just build and throw away. And then also, if you think, the world is just changing more and more. So need to adapt for more changes. Things are happening that we need to adapt in the near future. So this is why I think a lot of us really like circular economy. We know it's a big part of the solution, but the insight or the things that what bothered me is things are moving too slowly. We as a group of people, we talk a lot about circular products, but we with the Institute want to start talking about the circular valuable products, because the value of the product, that is the thing that will attract financing. That is how we're going to build business models. So how do we measure value? That's the thing. That's the question. And for this, we have created a formula, and it's called the Circular Value Index. And we look at three parameters. We look at the residual value, the cost of reuse, and to the risks. And I'm going to reflect often to walls. You know, I like it. So, but this is, for instance, a drywall. The residual value of a drywall, it's the steel. You can remelt the steel and you can get some dollars for the scrap metal. And so it's like $8 a square meter, a linear foot, roughly. But then to get it out from a space, bring it in the elevator, bring it to the scrap yard, you're paying $26. So you're getting the residual value of 8 cents, but you're paying the cost of reuse $26. Yeah, that is not, that is a mismatch. That's not good. So you're not going to reuse it, you throw it away. In reverse, if you think, for instance, Legos, the most expensive Lego sets on second hand is a castle from the 1980s. That castle sells for $1,300, and the trading fees to sell it is like $50. So you're getting $2.2 a brick, and you're paying 9 cents for the brick. And to be honest, your kids mostly, you don't pay them to clean up the Legos. So that part is also, the cost of reuse is very low there. So that's a high circular value of the product. So that is the core concept. And again, where does it come from? It comes from that experience that I had from B-Matrix. So what I've learned there is that there is a kind of an evolution going in the market. The insight is that we came trade shows from custom work, really wood and plasterboard. Then you had sticks and profiles, and then you have like bigger modules that build faster. And what's actually happening here is that there is a shift going on where it used to be a lot of cheap labor, a lot of labor, and then very cheap materials. But because labor is getting more scarce, we're moving to the right. There is less labor available, so we're going to use more advanced, more Lego-like systems to save on labor. This is important. This is a first shift that's happening. Just due to lack of labor in the market. Um, this is also the same what we have done with Juno. I'll show now a video. I don't know if it's going to come through. Otherwise, we skip the video. But in essence, what's happened is that Juno, compared to a regular drywall, Juno installs up to 7 times faster. And we designed it like Lego. So you see myself on the right side building and dismantling a wall 7 times faster than the person on the left is actually just building a single wall. And if you dismantle it, yeah, he just has a big pile of waste. So by product design, you can change this. And by saving on labor, you're saving a lot of money. This is 24 minutes. This is 2 hours and a half. If you take New York labor rates, yeah, that's $50 versus $300 for the same product. So this is what I mean with you're paying only $50 for labor instead of $300. So that's the first insight. What does that mean? If you only pay $50 instead of $300, you're getting more value for money. For instance, we as a company and also at BIM, we produce with the most sustainable steel, with the most sustainable boards. They are more expensive. There is a green premium on all those materials that you're using, but because you're saving on labor, the end client who pays labor and value, yeah, he doesn't notice it. So you, as a designer, you can make sure there's more sustainable materials used. The end client just gets higher quality products for the same price. So that's a second insight. And then the third insight, which is important, it starts to make sense to reuse. If you think you have here this block of labor, this amount of money of labor, and this value, the residual value, if this block is higher and you subtract it from the value, you're making a loss. You're throwing away all that money. If the conditions change and it goes, it's still a loss here. But if you move far enough to the right, you start to make profits. And this is important for us because this is about we need to not, I'm going to compare it with rockets. I like rockets as well. You used to have cool rockets going to the moon, and then everybody said early 70s, like, this is single use, let's make a reusable rocket. So what you do then, you build a reusable rocket. But what happened then, there came an accountant by, and the accountant said, hey dudes, okay, we know we can reuse it, but it's actually cheaper to send up a pound of mass to the space with the rockets of Russia. It's the price is just lower than doing this. So let's stop this and just buy our rockets from Russia, simply put. So this is the linear economy. It's pushing always prices down, and the materials or goods are being bought somewhere else in the world because it wants to go cheaper, 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 cheaper. And then suddenly, and it's I'm not going to talk anything else, but then suddenly you figured out a way to rockets, landing rockets, and reusing them profitably. And what happened by doing this, now you've got 95% of all mass in the world that goes to space is from one single company that's doing that. This is utterly, so the circular economy, just like B Matrix grew from a niche player to world player in a decade, just like we at Juno, we are also scaling like crazy. If you find the switch, it goes fast. And so our idea is, please, let's not focus on it can be reused, but focus on it's valuable to reuse. That's a big, it's profitable to use. That's a big difference to make. Um, Again, you can also see it with walls. Yeah, you buy the function of a wall for the same price. You pay for trash at the end of a life, or what we do as a company, we buy back our own materials. We buy them back, and what we then do is we sell them with profit again. You have other companies that lease out products. You have other business models that you can apply to this, but this is important to think about. This is how you can, as a producer, can make profits from this. So this is all about value creating financial business models. Okay. Um, I'm going to deep dive a bit. I hope I can keep you on, but later on we're still going to be open up for questions. The formula itself, it's a little bit more in depth. Just a few important things to focus. Residual value, it can be defined in, it's going to be the maximum of either the resource value. A golden ring is X amount of grams times the amount of, yeah, the price of the gold at that moment. So that's a resource price. But a producer can select to buy it back at a higher price, or maybe there is a second-hand market. There is a pawn shop, or like Legos, there is a second-hand market. Legos are much more expensive, have a higher residual value than their plastic price, so the resource price. So it's important to take the right price. And also you have products with an emotional value. For instance, if you take a Picasso paintings, there are 4 wooden beams with some textiles, and you could reuse those 4 wooden beams to do something else. So maybe you can get 4 cents out of it for the wood. But the emotional value of the thing is like 25 million. So this is also good product design. If you're a designer, it is very important to have that. So, and then of course, if you can't reuse it, it's losses, so that part is not reusable. On the cost of reuse, if you do this, you write out, so you write the dollar amount for your scenario, for your case, how much can I get in a second-hand market, or can I buy it back, or whatever. The cost of reuse, you just write every cost that you have. The cost for dismantling the goods, for the quality check, for repairing, for transport, if you need to store it for a few years for storage. If it's more difficult to sell, then you need to add sales cost. If you need to throw away a part of it, of the caserola, you need to add all those dollar amounts on the bottom. So those are the two numbers, and then you multiply it with a risk factor between 0 and 1, actually. So it's 0 if you're using only radioactive materials and asbestos and stuff like that. Nobody will reuse it, so the risk is endlessly, so the number is 0. But if it's like a golden ring, yeah, everybody likes gold forever, so the risk about reusing gold and getting a buyback value for it, it's not existing, so then you multiply it by 1. So that is the formula how it works. And what you then get if you do that for your materials, you're getting a number between 0, 10, 20. That's the max that you can actually go. And depending on the number, if it's 0, people will always choose the business model, will throw it away, it's trash. Or we lease it out and then it's trash. That's another way, but that's trash. Around 1, we'll see, for instance, in the carpet industry, take back schemes. People are willing to get it back for free. They're not paying you money, but they're willing to take it back. A little bit higher, you'll see people starting to reuse it themselves, because if you use it yourself at your home, for instance, cost of labor is lower, so it makes sense to do it. And then the next step, as of 3, it becomes interesting as a producer to buy it back, or to also start about leasing, where you take the value of the residual value into account. Just like a car leasing, that is circular leasing that takes in account. If you go further, we also discovered the concept of a circular discount. This is a new way of thinking, but this comes down to, I give you 10% discount in advance, but in trade for that 10% discount, I want to have the right to reuse, because in the future, my 10 that I now give in discount today, in 10 years, I can sell that 10 for a factor of 10. So for 100, so I make from 10 to 100 profit in 10 years, so it makes sense. And that is a complete new, different world. Then we're trading assets and so on. So one of the next ventures I'm trying to set up right now is a circular fund, a fund for circular valuable products, so that we can finance it. Because with financings, we build it. It doesn't exist in the world yet, so I'm just building it, and we'll see what's going to happen. It's going to be called the Materials as a Service Company, the Moscow. That is now the next crazy idea I've got to work on. And when talking about that with all those partners, with the investors and so on, we wanted to have some sensitivity to the formula, because it's important. So some additional insights are, if the CVI, the circular value index, on 5 years, it's something else than on 30 years. The financials work. Some things work on 5 years, or on a weekend, it's very profitable to reuse. But if you need to pay a little bit more and you can only reuse it in 30 years, that's a sensitivity that you need to check. Another axis, another dimension, is the region where you're doing this. If labor cost is 50, the CVI is going to be higher. If the labor costs go up, the circular value index go down. So this is also something you need to take into account. And the third axis, if you're using it in the same area, or you're using it in the same building, for instance, it's much more valuable to reuse than if you would reuse it in another building in another city. So those are sensitivities, a 3-dimensional axis of sensitivity. So normally, I think you're now saying, wow, this is a lot. This is a lot of information. I get it. And this is why we also built the Institute. So with the Institute, it's a non-profit organization, and we want to accelerate and transition with this knowledge that we bring to you. And we help you on multiple fronts. The first front is innovation. So on innovation, we have a team of people that are creating workshops in Europe, in the US, that are doing this and can give you product design advice and tips and tricks on how to do this. We have legal people who understand how it works legally. We have the contracts both in Europe as in the US. We have the financing, the business models, people going on. And also we're working with academy and research so that we can actually use this to nudge a little bit around policies in the future. So this is, and the group is growing and we're looking for more people to join in the group. And this is the ecosystem of the Circular Values Institute. So we try to influence the producers of the materials. We're using our members, those agencies, those consultants agencies, to nudge them. And we're using core strategic partners like the European government. We're working closely with academia, with legal partners to also influence them. And finally, the goal is then, if we find a lot of circular valuable materials, we're going to help them and finance them with the materials as a service company so that they can ramp up their productions, they can sell more, and they can grow the circular economy faster. And in this sense, this is what I do as a living. These are 3 companies I founded as a person. And a lot of people ask me, okay, Chris, why do you do this? Yeah, it's very, very simple. I do this because I have children, and my children need to grow up in a good environment. So for that, we need to reinvent the product. Say we need to build the SpaceXs, not the space shuttles. We need to build that. We need to implement them, and we need to scale them up. So we need to have the money to scale them up. That is the idea behind this. And this is what I do, but how do we act together? What can we do together so that we can accelerate the circular economy? That is my question to you. And yeah, I hope to connect with you and have a cool conversation right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That was great. I'm gonna cede the floor to anybody that has questions before me, but I have a couple. So if anybody has questions, feel free to turn your camera on, raise your hand, put it in the chat. Any number of ways that you can ask a question. I'm gonna try to be okay with a little bit of silence before I butt in with my own question. All right, I can't do it any longer. Oh, there we have one. Great, Reed.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, yeah, maybe this isn't where you were thinking of going, Chris, but one of the things I'm thinking about a lot is air source heat pumps. They're viewed as the big thing for people to put in right now, but I view them as a transitional technology. And so I was wondering whether you have spoken with anybody who has ideas about how air source heat pumps could become part of a circular economy in the future if they're not here for the long haul.
Well, it's a little bit like a car battery or something. It's just a box with a lot of precious materials inside of it, I think. So we have all kinds of components still. I think it's there is a good business case if you have a box full of materials that are valuable to have a recycling method, and sometimes going to be reused, sometimes going to be recycling. But I think there is a business model to be made if that transition happens. And maybe it only happens in 50 years, but we'll see. And I think I see in a bunch of valuable materials in a box that you can carry around. So it's cheap to bring down, and it's a lot of components close by. It's better than, for instance, concrete, and that you spray paint polyurethane on it. That's difficult to get out of. It's not glued. So that's
Right.
I don't,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's screwed into a facility and it can be removed. Yeah. And then I'll just share that listening to your talk, one of the things that's came to mind is the pressures on waste disposal locally. I live in Vermont, and nobody wants a new landfill, especially one that's going to take hazardous materials. And so I think there's an opportunity to redirect people's frustration with waste siting and redirect that toward finding solutions to eliminate the waste in the first place. So that's just one area where I see an opportunity is to engage people who are impacted by waste.
Indeed. And then, for instance, government. So this is what we try with the European Union is business will always want to make money. So the higher the CVI, the more money they can make. So what can governments do is in their purchasing policy, demand products with a high circular value. Hence, there will be more circular value products coming to the market. Hence, at the end of a life, they will be reused. You will have that impact. And this is the idea about making it measurable. Then you can take actions today that will make sure that in the future it will not be thrown away. Nobody throws away Legos. You would be crazy to throw away Legos. So if you can influence companies to build more Lego, like that is the core idea about it. Or if you can nudge them, like be the SpaceX and take 95% from the market from all your competitors, this is how we're trying to accelerate the transition.
I didn't know it. You'd be crazy to throw away Legos. That's going to be one of my takeaways from this because I have a lot of Legos at my house. We have a bunch of questions in the chat coming in. Neely from Tractor Supply asks, are there any industries or applications where you've seen more success outside of drywall, conference walls? Like, where do you see the biggest opportunities just from your seat now?
Yeah, I see a lot of things going on. For cars, for instance, is we don't even think it's circular, but cars are a very circular business environment. So those are kind of industries with a lot of success. All the scrap yards, like for instance, in America, you have a company called Unhinged Doors. I think today $20 or $30 million in just reusing doors on a smart way. So there are many examples of companies who are doing this. The question is what industries are now up next, or I don't know that. We discuss it with the group a lot, but I think it's about human creativity and about companies just thinking about it. How can we reduce the cost of reuse? How can we make sure that our products are reusable? And if they do it long enough, they will figure it out. I was talking to Medcare companies, the medical industry, it's all single use. Yeah, we're now having some meetings with them. How can we, for the non-critical parts, maybe do start setting up a circular loop? And we're looking into that. And what we then do as an institute is they have 1,000 products, and we're just going to do back of the envelope calculations about what's the circular value of those 1,000 products and try to find what is the top 10% within their company that they already have. And then with that 10%, we going to work with and thus showcasing success to the leadership and that circular economy pays off. That's how you get there in the end, I think. But curious to learn more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, and you wonder, like, the other thing I wonder is how many companies or how many different product types are sort of close, right? Like one change in the design or change in material that might unlock that triggered over a one circular value index, right? There's got to be a bunch of things that are close.
Yeah. Or where you can just keep the same product and change the scenario, that you can reuse it already in the same city, but not outside the city. Or you can reuse it for the scope of where you use it for 10 years, but not for 30. That's also, or the case of you can reuse it in another country, but not in New York City because labor rates are too high. So that's why we have that sensitivity. So sometimes you don't need to reinvent, you just need to sell it somewhere else.
That's interesting. Someone asks, are there roles being hired at CVI? Is it research, other roles? What do you mentioned needing more people. What are you looking for at the
So
institute?
yeah, so all the people that are working at the Circular Value Institute, they do it as because they love the mission, they love the idea, and they do it most of the time they do it free of charge, helping them. Only the agencies, those are the ones that are, if they're doing a lot of work and setting up workshops, that they're just asking their fees. So we're looking for more agencies that want to take this business model and create value for their clients. But we're also looking for industry experts that, pro bono, just let's do this and let's come together as a group. That's how we do it. Yeah.
We also have a question from Mirage about who's actually buying reusable walls? Like who are those customers and how do
Ah,
you educate them on the business?
yeah. So like in trade show, it's very a clear business case. The thing is there for 3 days. It's a very easy to explain business case. For walls, nobody thinks about it if it's in your house or if it's in your hospital or something where it stays forever. Nobody thinks about it. But people like here in New York City, on average, every 7 years, a office space is getting gutted. So the office space is getting gutted, thrown away. If you talk to those landlords, they are tired of always paying a few $100,000 every time that the tenant moves out, and then they pay close to $1 million to get it refitted out. It's boring to do that. If you do that 2, 3 times, it's very easy for them to see the value of what we're doing. So there again, as Juno then, we selected a niche where the business case makes sense. We scale it up. And then by scaling it up in that niche, our cost of productions go down. The higher the volume you do, the lower materials are getting. And in the end, because we're still 7 times faster than the competition, we're just going to be cheaper than the competition and also roll out to different business models, to different sectors, sorry. So that's how we see it. And I think, again, creativity enough for others, startup founders to do it themselves. But yeah.
Well, and it's interesting, I would say now in the, sort of current political landscape in the US here with the potential for decreased, labor of construction workers or decreased availability of those people, like maybe there's an opportunity in the future too. It's funny to think about how geopolitical climate, like all of these different factors can actually tip the circular value index higher or lower. Um,
In general, that shift between labor and system, that is just always moving to the right. That's there is going to be less labor available, so you need to go to the right. That's and it also fits with the sentiment of let's make stuff here in America. That's a good. It's more logical to do. It's closer. It's more sustainable. There is a big advantages of doing that as well, especially for things like construction materials. Yeah.
Anyone else on the call have a question? Feel free to raise your hand, come off camera. Um, we've got a couple industries on the call that I know, well, at least a couple people that are already working in things like repair, refurbishment, remanufacturing, which I think is an interesting angle on this, right? Have you applied the same logic, the same equation to whether or not it's worth fixing something? Uh,
Yes. Yeah, you do that constantly.
yeah,
Everybody does that constantly, even at your home, where it's always this, it's a very simple formula.
yeah.
It's not rocket science. Everybody does it. But the trick is how to link it to your product design, how to link it to your business models. So maybe you already are reusing in your business, reusing materials. Well, we can help you to figure out maybe you can get inspired by somebody else who makes a leasing business model out of it or another recurring income business model that's more profitable for you on the long run. And that is what we hope to do then do those pioneers that are already doing this. If we can assist them in increasing their business model, their bottom line, they will grow more, they will take more market share, and then they will push out the single-use products. That's the methodology that we're using on all fronts.
Very interesting. Yeah, I was also thinking about the different values you had listed there, emotional value, secondhand, buyback, resources. As I was thinking about the companies that were on the call initially, right? Some of these companies already have the emotional value that makes their products valuable, right? So I'm thinking back to my days in furniture space, Herman Miller in the the chairs, the really famous chairs with the ottomans
Yeah.
that I can't remember the name of now, right? Those things go for thousands of dollars on the secondhand market,
Yeah.
basically the same price you buy them for new. Um,
It's like yeah, the X share. I think it's a very, very one that's very famous for that. The Eames share.
yep, Eames,
The
that's what I was
good,
thinking.
the good product design has an advantage, but also think about luxury goods, handbags and stuff like that. They increase in price over time, which is a weird thing, but it's because it's based on emotions. And so you can design for that.
Have you tried applying the equation at all to packaging? Like, do you see any packaging applications that might have a value in reuse?
So the problem is packaging is never it's very difficult to get packaging profitable. So either you, as a government, you say, okay, we're going to artificially higher the price, the residual value of packaging, and we adding like 10 cents or 20 cents as a like in Switzerland they do that. They're adding a price to it so that it's you get money to that's a way that it works, but in a normal economical system it's actually very difficult to get it profitable to reuse. Another case I saw, for instance, in France by law they're not allowed to have single-use packaging for fast food. So there you go to the McDonald's and everything is a plastic cup and there is a washing machine and so on. That is as close as you can get to having profitable reuse, because everything is made for washing on site, very close loops and so on. But it's very difficult. And if you see your circular value index, you can't get it higher, you don't see how to get it higher, then we also say have a look at bio-based materials, add materials that are compostable, are those kinds of options as well. Circular economy is a part of the solution. It is not the complete solution. There are other cool things that you can do as well. But for business people, circular economy is the one that brings more money so that's the fun part of it.
Excellent. Anyone else? If not, we might be able to give some people some time back this morning to check your emails or whatever. One last chance if anybody has questions. Going once, going twice. All right, with no more questions, thank you, Chris, for joining us. Thanks everybody for joining today. This meeting was recorded, so if you want to share it around your companies, it'll be available probably Monday. And we will see you all in 2 weeks. We have a meeting scheduled then. Let's see, what are we talking about in 2 weeks? I think I already sent the invite out, but it'll be circular strategy at BAT. So we've got one of our members presenting their own circular strategy in 2 weeks. So hope everybody can join for that. And until then, have a good one. Thanks a lot, Chris. This was great.
Yeah, thank you. Hope to speak to you later. Bye.
Bye.